Shadday and Rachmeh. It's very interesting, the analysis of Rachmeh and Asherah by Frank Moore Cross. Shadday remains the one of the mountain, but this reading is lopsided, she contends. She's saying this on page 24. The word play, Shaddayim, with breast and mountain, is also very important for representations of the Divine Mother. And these should logically evoke symbolically equivalent epithets of the Mother Goddess as well. So, if the epithet Shaddai is understood as the one of the breast, the imagery crystallizes for us here. While the terms Shaddayim and Rechem are seen as a fixed pair, breasts and womb alluding to Asherah, each term when we take them separately could be alluding to a possible Asherah epithet as either Shaddai or Rechem. When we put them together, it's pretty obvious. It's also obvious as they're separated also, though. Kind of interesting that. The symbolically equivalent terms forming a parallel pair, breasts and womb, would have epithetic parallels, she says. Asherah would thus be evoked as the one of the breast and the one of the womb, as Shaddai and Rachmeh, as nutrix and genitrix, as the nurturer of the gods of men, and as the Divine Mother, the actual birther of gods and men. Now this is fascinating. Frank Moore Cross, in his book Canaanite Myth and Hebrew Epic, discusses this in extensive detail.
And finally, the idea of the parallel to blessings of breasts and womb in verses 26a. This is, in some translations, after Abvika, your father, we find Wamek, the Samaritan, and it means your mother in the Septuagint as well. Verse 26a at one time may have contained a male and female divine appellation, in other words, is what she's saying. It's common in Ugaritic as in mythology in general, as far as that goes. And she says, an earlier Yahwism was able to assimilate, but which was later deleted by later redactors and editors. Reconstruction is the blessings of father and mother. Very interesting. But what is even more fascinating that she notes is that she says the interpretation is strengthened by several versions. In verse 26b, they have the masculine word progenitors or conceivers. Very interesting here. This is a hapax legomemnon. In other words, it only appears once in the Hebrew. In the Hebrew, the word harach, H-R-H, means to become pregnant. So we have here other nouns formed from the root are the feminine singular, and this is found in Hosea 2:5 and the Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs, in 3, verse 4. These have the natural sense of mother. So we have both father and mother, probably divine, according to Friedman now. These may therefore have once existed both in verse 26 in our blessing here. The Hebrew text may have been deliberately corrupted. And what was the point of the corruption? To get rid of an even more explicit mythological heritage of a maternal deity. She says that on page 25. Now this is fascinating because this shows us deliberate corruptions changing a powerful doctrine of a father and mother God right out of the Hebrew Bible. The possible allusion to Asherah in Genesis 49, 25, 26 is of heightened interest because of its proximity to the name or the epithet of Shaddai. It would seem incredible that this is a chance occurrence. There's no chance here. This is the mother goddess found in the Hebrew Bible, but has been translated out of the Bible. It is remarkably interesting that the Dar Allah text, she says, the seer Balaam, son of Beor, who hears the words of El and sees the vision of Shaddai in Numbers 24, verses 4 and verse 16, these have reappeared in the late 8th century BCE inscriptions discovered in the ruins of a temple in Transjordan. So we have here a possible, seriously direct common source, if not direct influence, she says. The identification of the Deir Allah texts and ethnicity of the people is still inconclusive at this point, but the possibility that the temple is Israelite cannot be excluded. If it was an El temple, as it appears to be, Yahwism may have coexisted at that time with a non-Yahwist Israelite El cult. The inscription tells of a divine council meeting. Here we go again. The divine council, we can never escape this divine council theme. It's always prominent in the ancient Near East and in the Hebrew Bible. These texts are describing a divine council meeting by Balaam. The gods are probably El, a group of gods called the Elim, possibly related to him. These are the famous Hebrew Bene Elohim of the Hebrew Bible. A second group of gods are called Shaddayin. That is surely the plural of the divine name Shadday. So here we have a council meeting of the god and goddess with their children. This is very interesting. This is probable in the context. And last, there is a goddess named SH, and then the inscription breaks off. It's broken, but we have the SH of this particular goddess. This goddess in this partial inscription that we only have of the SH is possibly the consort of El himself. And she's in the pantheon. She seems to be paired with El, probably the chief god of the divine council. This divine council includes the mother goddess, and she is the same one alluded to in the Hebrew Bible here. The Shaddai gods appeal to her to punish the people and sew up the heavens. Reference to a cloud suggests darkness or absence of rain or inundation, either of which would bring the curse of barrenness, as opposed to the common blessing of fertility that the goddesses are associated with. So this is extremely interesting on the other end of things. It's fascinating. The name Shaddai is found paired with the name of El in the Hebrew Bible, as it is in this inscription. It's a model of the parallel Rockmay texts in Ugarit, and Shaddai could be El's consort and attend a meeting of the divine council at Deir Allah. Shaddai, too, is responsible for the creation and fertility, according to Genesis, and conversely for destruction, barrenness, and loss. Genesis 43:14, Ruth 1:20, Job 6:4. The biblical Shaddai, like the Deir Allah goddess Sh, affects rain and shine. So we're talking about weather, fertility, and barrenness, as opposed to barrenness here. The name Shadday Ur, means Shaddai shines. And a traditional interpretation of the name Shaddai is rain giver. A goddess of the breast may pour forth, or she may conversely withhold the blessings of the earth from the people. So this is so interesting because we have mentions of the day of Yahweh with clouds, barrenness, fertility. It's so fascinating how these epithets are associated with the goddess. We have the sound of mighty waters. Shaddai's voice is like thunder in Ezekiel 10:5. There's a storm from Shaddai in Isaiah 13 verse 6. There's the sound of the mighty waters in Ezekiel 1:24. And when Shaddai covered, as with a cloud, she covered the kings, who are considered a group of the stars, then snow fell on Zalman. This is Psalm 68:14. A mountain in Transjordan is what she covered. Covering the sky with a cloud, causing inclement weather, Shaddai has done just what the goddess Shu of Deir Allah was asked to do or not to do. So we have the same type of constructions, the same types of problems, the same types of powers associated with the goddess in a Deir Allah inscription, as well as Shaddai in the Hebrew Bible.